Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. Our last weekend coming up after the 4th, we're going to be out at Warrenton. Let's just call it what it is. It's the WAC, Warrenton Athletic Complex. We got 17 14U teams this weekend, folks, battling it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it, from Adidas Athletics to Mo Gators to Rawlings Tigers to Midland Baseball. We got a ton of teams in this. It's going to be a lot of fun. Saturday, we're going to try and get as many interviews, talk to as many kids as we can. I'm looking forward to that. Always love talking to the kids, 14U going into high school. I think it's a great opportunity to see where these kids are going, where they're at, and where they're playing, the level of baseball they're playing going into high school. So it's a lot of fun. As you can see here, I got my S2 faction stuff going here. Of course, the folks over at Chesterfield, Will, the GM over there, hooked me up. This just came out Monday, so if you're in S2 and you want to see the S2 faction stuff, because we want to say thank you to Will, to my son Justin. They both work at the Chesterfield location. They hooked us up with a stack protein, the igniter, the creatine, the supplement for a month for our top award winner. We gave that away along with some S2 shirts. I appreciate that greatly, what those guys did, because nutrition is a big deal for these 14U kids moving into that. I'm sure Mr. Wiggins will attest to that. Right? And so
Yes,
we wanted to give them a big shout out here and appreciate them participating in our youth baseball movement here. So I'm going to take this all off now. Well, at least that.
So this area back here is basically production. They do a lot of the artwork back here. They do the production. So any of that stuff that comes in off of, let's say, our fanware stores, stuff that comes in off the team stores, a lot of the coaches wear, a lot of the last minute, hey, we got to have it in the next 10 minutes stuff, that's all comes back here. This area is where all the day-to-day stuff that comes in really goes through. The retail store is its own little entity. This is where the real work is done.
Keep the shirt on, Brian.
Make sure that you go to Supplement Superstores. Check that out. Nutrition, right, Dave?
Nutrition, absolutely. Big part of development, without question.
Especially with athletics today. And so here, after all that stuff, so make sure you're following us and all that. We have head coach, Webster Groves High School, RBC Baseball Club, Dave Wiggins, and not to mention, folks, I know it didn't, but still, second place finish in this year's Class 5 state championships. They had a heck of a run, and it was a heck of a baseball game between them and Willard, and the championship game was a lot of fun to watch. Coach, thanks for taking the time. Join us here.
Always happy to be on.
We've been talking about this for a few weeks. It just,
We have, yeah.
just finding the time to get you on the show. We were talking before we started, and we alluded to it's had to have been just a whirlwind coming through high school baseball right into summer.
Yeah, it absolutely has. I actually missed our first summer tournament, and I was very happy to miss it because I was in Springfield, doing something that we hadn't done since 1969. It was a special run. It's a special group of kids, special group of parents. We just had an absolute blast down there. Didn't know what to expect going in. At times it almost felt like, it was more of an exhibition, just with the time limits and everything and how those worked and the amount of time you have in the cage and how quickly you got to get in and out of the dugouts. But no, once you're on the field playing the games, the energy, the atmosphere, it's unmatched. It was so much fun.
Dave, what does this do? This was your third season. You're going into your fourth season, right? As a head coach, am I correct?
I was actually my fourth season.
That was your
Um,
fourth. Okay.
yeah, I got the job when COVID hit. So going into spring of 20 is the first year that we were going to be on staff. Obviously, we weren't. So spring of 21, 22, 23, 24. So yeah, that was year 4 on the field. This will be year 5 coming up.
You know, what does that do for your program? I know you've been working at this. I know you have a plan. You're a very thoughtful individual in that respect. I'm sure this was the goal. Did you meet the expectations that you set for yourself to get where you wanted to go? Did it happen sooner? What are the expectations moving forward?
Yeah, I think I know. Our group will say, well, we didn't win state, so we didn't meet the expectation. But I mean, I think we far exceeded it in a lot of ways. Webster Groves has long been known as a basketball/football school. Baseball, just the amount of excitement around baseball, the amount of just publicity that baseball gets in our town isn't the greatest. And when I stepped in, I wanted to change that, and I didn't understand how hard it was going to be. High school baseball is way different from club baseball, and it took me a while to figure that out. It took me a while to figure out the differences and the nuances and how to help build a high school program. I wasn't very good at it early on, I'll be honest. There's so much more than just getting on the field and coaching. It's the behind the scenes stuff. It's the admin. It's the relationships you have to build with, not just the players, but with the community and the families that are pouring in and buying into what we want to do and want to help make us better. We've got to show them that we're serious about our commitment to making our program better as well. This class of 2024, we had 13 seniors. When they came in as freshmen, we had numerous parents reach out to us and say, this is the best class Webster's ever had. This team's going to take you to state. And I'm just sitting there oh, I don't know what it takes to get to state. It sounds like a really big deal. Webster hasn't been to state since 1969. They lost the 4th place game. There's a banner in Robert's gym and it's got one team on it. And, it was from, I was born 20 years, 17, 18 years after that championship was even won, or that Final Four appearance even happened. So I'm looking at it like, well, that's really cool that we have a class that people believe is this good. And, I come from the club world where, you can have, 8 different 3/4 hitters on one team. And it took me a while to kind of figure out, like, high school baseball, there's role players, there's different guys in different roles that can help teams win in different ways. And, high school baseball at the varsity level it's purely about winning. How can we come together as a team and win meaningful baseball games? And understanding that was more the focus and developing to get to that point versus, can we win a tournament this weekend? If we do, well, that's awesome. But then next weekend, who really cares? Like, we got another one we got to go win. In high school, it's like we're working towards one ultimate goal, win a state championship. And that's accumulation versus one tournament every other weekend or every weekend.
I think I've talked about this before because, when you look at a head coach in this situation, I think it goes from high school to college to the professional level. Let's just take, was it Vitelli, right?
Yeah, Vitello. Mm-hmm.
Vitello in Tennessee. It took him a while, finally got that, whatnot. What does it take, the difference between summer baseball to high school baseball? And I think, how did you adapt to learning how to develop those relationships and being able to talk to a player about a role that maybe they think, well, I'm better than that, right?
Oh, that's a good question. Initially when I came in, my staff, I came in with James L. Key. He and I actually graduated in 2004 from Webster. He's the head softball coach at Parkway North. He and I have been coaching together for a long time. And we knew going in, we were going to need to change just kind of the seriousness of baseball culture. We had a lot of kids who didn't play baseball in the summer. If they did, it was for low-level teams. And we really came in and we pushed hard, playing summer baseball, challenging yourselves in the summer, not being hung up on record, but being more hung up on development and playing varsity level competition as soon as possible in the summer and the fall. And then, we go into that and, you start to see these kids, you start to see them get a taste of what varsity competition is like going into their sophomore fall or sophomore summer, going into their junior summer. Guys who played JV as sophomores, seeing what varsity level competition looks like in the summer, playing 16U comp. Obviously you're going to run into your fair share of okay teams in the summer as well. I still maintain to this day that at the Class 5, Class 6 level, varsity baseball is consistently more difficult than 16U summer baseball. 17U summer baseball, it's hit or miss, and it depends on the schedule you play. But, my goodness, man. It's not just the level of competition, it's the preparation. It's the fact that coaches have books on your hitters. They know who your pitchers are. They know how your pitchers pitch. They set their defenses accordingly, and they're trying to win baseball games, and they're not trying to show out for scouts. They're not trying to show out for coaches. You're not getting an 80-20 fastball breaking ball mix. You might get a 60-40 fastball breaking ball mix because you're trying to beat hitters. You're not trying to show off your velocity. So that was a big thing for me, is going in like, okay, well, we have to coach these boys in a way that we're not necessarily trying to show out for recruiters or scouts. We're trying to win baseball games. And we have to be prepared. And something that Key does really well, and something that the young man that we brought on this year, Jacob Clark, does extremely well, they help me prepare. They watch teams that we're about to play. They get video. They use our scoring app. They score the games. They get velocities on the pitchers. They get catcher pop times. They get hitter tendencies. They get me a lot of information. They get themselves a lot of information. James L runs our pitching staff. I run the staff and I determine who pitches when, but James L calls the pitches. He sets the defense, and he makes sure that we are as well prepared for the offense we're about to face as we can possibly be. That may be, feeding a lineup 75% breaking balls. That may be feeding a lineup 75% fastballs. It depends on who we think their hitters are, what we think they do well, what we think they struggle with. And I'm coaching summer ball right now. I don't do that. I just let my boys go out and play. I want them to show what they can do. We were in Kansas City this last weekend. There's tons of schools in the stands watching my guys. And I don't I want to win, but I don't care as much if we win. I care more that my guys are getting seen and they're showing well in front of those coaches. And in the spring, it's not about that. In the spring, it's how can we win? How can we beat a team that has more talent than we do? How can we beat an arm that's upper 80s with a wicked slider when we know we might only score 2 runs? How can we overcome that? And that was the biggest thing for us to figure out. And we figured it out this year. I'm not going to lie. We really figured out a way to almost develop a system at our school to help our guys be as successful as possible. And it just goes to show, if you look at the teams that we were up against in the state championship and in the state semifinal, those other 3 teams, loaded, very good baseball teams. They filled out the all-state rosters. We got one guy, Jackson Torbett, who pitched his butt off. He got the all-state nod, but we only had one all-state guy. I only had one first-team all-conference guy, and I won my conference. We won our conference. I'm not going to say I won it. I didn't. We won our conference with one first-team all-conference guy. So our boys are playing at a level, or played at a level at which we were super proud. We played really good defense. Our guys are moving all over the field. Drew Hauser, our shortstop and captain, he might have been playing 4 feet next to Joe Callis, in the 5-6 hole. He might have been playing up the middle. He might have been playing on the second base side of second base. And we're moving these guys in between pitches, in between batters. And for them to be able to be that adaptable and move that fast and just buy in and trust that the information we have is going to lead to the ball being hit to them, that's massive. And that takes a lot of buy-in, and that takes trust in us. And knowing that we prepared and trusting that our preparation was done correctly. And I give our guys a lot of credit for buying into the system and trusting that, hey, coach told me as a right fielder, he wants me to move 30 feet in. And then, wow, the ball was hit 4 feet in front of me. All I had to do was take 2 steps and I caught it. it's getting that little bit of buy-in that really helps us along the way. I see it
Well,
in the summer. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, to your point, and I want to do this before you move to, because this is what we get at the state championships.
Yeah,
And here, folks, just an FYI, this is the teams on their schedule: SLU, Lindbergh, Parkway Central, John Burroughs, defending state champs, Eureka, Parkway South, Seckman, Fort Zumwalt South, Rockwood Summit, Lafayette, Class 6 second place team, Hillsboro, Oakville, Festus, Vianney, St. Francis Borgia. Don't make it easy on your guys, Coach.
absolutely not.
Exactly, and that's the point. And I love that thought process when you're looking at your schedule. Then you have to think. I believe that at any level, if you're working to put yourself in a position to have success, to put yourself in a position to win a championship, the head coach is about managing the people around you, managing the player's personality. Because
Yes.
when we talk about buy-in, it has to be so they have to be able to relate to you as a person to understand you have their best interest in mind.
Absolutely. And, let me talk about Jackson Torbett for 1 minute. Jackson was consistently about 82 to 84, top 85 early in the season. Pitch 105, 2 games in a row was 85, and it was his hardest pitch. So we knew he had a little more in the tank. And I pulled him aside. I'm like, hey, man, it's awesome that you touched 85 on your last pitch. Like, can we maybe try to sit 84, 86 in the next couple starts and, see if let's amp it up a little bit, he struggled with his curveball early on. His curveball is devastating. It's a great pitch. And I got him in the bullpen. It took 5 minutes for him to figure out, just a couple different mechanical things here and there. And next thing you know, boom, the curveball's there. So now he's a fastball, curveball, slider, changeup guy. Name me a high school pitcher who has 4 pitches, and 3 of them are plus. 1 is good. And to me, I look at that like, okay, now you've got a repertoire. Now you can pitch different ways. You can use the slider as a put away. You can use the curveball front door to get ahead. You can use the curveball the first time through, and then you can use the slider the second time through. Make yourself a little bit different pitcher. And Jackson was just, and you talk about buy-in. Okay, John Burroughs, a very good baseball team, won the Class 4 championship last year. Hall Chapman, fantastic arm, really good pitcher. Hitters in their lineup: Charlie Karlovich, Calvin Gell. Calvin Gell set a hits record for them. The Barnett kid, the Muhammad brothers. They're all very good fastball hitting guys. They hit the fastball extremely well. Doesn't matter if it's 82, 87, 88. They're on time for it. They're a very good fastball hitting team. We scouted them hard, very hard, because we figured that's who we were going to see in the championship of our district. And our goal was to win a district championship. We've said it from day one. Let's go baby steps. Let's win that district. We knew going in that we were going to have to be really good with off speed against those guys, because they jump fastballs early. They ambush fastballs, especially the Muhammad brothers. They get fat off early fastballs. They just light them up. And they hit them hard to the pull side. And, we just know that if we can get ahead soft and we can work them backwards, we've got a really good chance. And Jackson's 87 by now. Like, he's up to 87. He's not throwing in the low to mid 80s anymore. And he was 75% curveball that game, and he dominated. He knew the plan. He stuck to the plan. He bought in, and he pitched the way we needed him to pitch. And that is hard to do. That's not easy to do. And then you turn around and you face Festus, the Class 5 defending state champ. Now, Festus is a little bit different in our opinion. They haven't seen a lot of velocity. The schedule they play is good, but we looked at the arms they saw. They didn't see a lot of plus velocity guys. When they did, they kind of struggled. So we knew going into that game, okay, Jackson, we need to be fastball heavy. So this dude a week ago is breaking ball heavy, and he turns around and he goes out and he's 78% fastballs against Festus, and he dominates. And so just talking about the buy-in and sticking to the plan and understanding here's how you need to pitch these guys versus these guys, and being able to do it just 1 week apart and turn yourself into a completely different pitcher. And that's why the dude's a first team All-State guy. I mean, he's so
Yeah.
adaptable. And I mean, my gosh, Central College is getting a dude. Like, they're getting an absolute dude who should step on campus, and they're a very good baseball school. He should step on campus and have a chance right away to be a weekend guy for them. And we can't do all the preparation and all the scouting and have the information if we can't execute the plan. It doesn't work. It takes the execution, and that's 100% what it was.
We talk about this all the time. I was talking about it with Coach Kratz from MICDS. Knowledge. We always talk knowledge is power, right? But if you cannot apply the knowledge, make it applicable within the situation, it is of no value to anybody. And
Exactly.
right.
Yep.
So I always told, even when I was coaching at 9U, guys, if we cannot execute, we will be executed.
That's good. I like that. I like that a lot.
It's true, is it? Is it not?
Yeah.
And that's just a fact. And I know that's a kind of a harsh way to put it, but when you're in competition, things are harsh. Nobody's trying to kill. Please, nobody. We're not trying to hurt anybody or anything. It's just a form of an expression to get to the point that you're trying to make, and you try to find ways for people to understand how to apply the knowledge you're giving them. If you've got all this information and these kids are looking at you with glazed over eyes, it's a bad deal.
Yeah, and there is such thing as information overload, and you've got to know your audience. You've got to know the team you have. You've got to know. We had 13 seniors. We had kids who were an extension of the coaching staff. Really, I mean, Drew Hauser ran every defensive shift we had. Ran every defensive play up the middle. And we were confident that we knew that if we gave him certain information, he'd be able to relay it to Shota at second base, to Joe at third base, and to really just kind of help us bring home what we wanted to do. Talking about Jackson again, then you go into the Kearney game. That's a team we'd never seen. That's a team, like, we literally didn't have their stats, Brian, until we got to US Ballpark and we got the program. We had no idea how to see what their stats were. We tried to go online. We had no clue. We had some video scout when they played some other teams, but we went into that blind, and we assumed who their great hitters were just by looking at certain things. And then we get the program, we're like, oh my. Like the dude, I can't even remember his name. I think we walked him 2 out of 3 times. Should have walked him 3 out of 3 times. Their cleanup hitter, I mean, that guy was just super dangerous. Obviously Jackson Hellberg, the catcher, the leadoff hitter, we knew that that dude had 6 bombs, and we knew he could fly. Chase Porter, we knew those things, but we didn't really know them as well as we knew other teams that we had seen or that we knew that we had info on. So Jackson goes into that game almost blind, and he's just got to be a dude. Like, we didn't really, we had a little bit of a plan, but we didn't have a plan like we had against Burroughs and Festus. The plan against Kearney was just, hey, you just got to go be a dude for a game. And that's, he was. And, thankfully we scored runs. We did enough to win that game. Offensively, they're far superior. I think everybody knows that. But credit to my guys. It was a small strike zone. It's a state championship strike zone. Hellberg, who'd been dominant in the past, was just a little off that day, and we did not swing outside the strike zone. I think we scored 4 runs without getting a hit, and take a lot of pride in that.
I think that's I loved your point there, because when you do get into that, you get the quality of umpires should be better, and that's the whole point of it. And I was sitting next to Kevin Mulder when we were watching the Oswald kid from Lafayette throw the no-hitter, and we're watching that, and I'm watching this umpire, and I looked at Kevin. I said, "This is legit. This guy's strike zone is the actual rule book."
Yep.
And and I'm like, this is legitimate. So you see a no hitter sometimes. You get that strike that's this far off the plate.
Right. No, you hit it with a real zone.
Yeah, and so I thought that was even much more impressive. And that's the thing. You're there, and there are so many things that kind of you have to adjust to in these settings. It's not just everything apples to apples. You're in a bigger setting. You're in a larger, U.S. It's actually now what's it? Ozark Mountain Sports
Ozark
Complex.
Mountain Complex. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big ballpark.
That's a little
And
different than our ballpark. We played our final like 6 games at our place. I mean, we hosted districts, we hosted the quarterfinal, and we go out there, and I'm looking around. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, my right fielder doesn't know where to play. I don't know where to play him. Like I'm like, all right, let's figure this out. This is insane. Yeah, I mean, it was massive.
it's an
It was,
adjustment, isn't it?
yeah. Oh, it really was. It's an adjust. The turf is really fast. It's that old kind of thin turf. The ball flies on it. You're probably not going to give up a home run, because of how big everything is. So, with certain guys, we didn't want to play too deep because our defense is don't let them burn us in front. If they hit it over our heads, they hit it over our heads. It is what it is. We just can't let cheap hits happen. And those first couple innings against Kearney, we're looking at Asher in right field like, man, I think he might be too deep. But, at our place, we know right away if you're too deep or not. The fence is 276 feet away. So it was one of those deals where, like, okay, we're a little worried about the depth of this part, but let's bring him down and let's let's win or lose our way.
I love that. And if you've got a philosophy, you got to stick with it. I think that's it because that's what the kids know. That's what they understand. And having that consistency is key for their success as well, correct?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, obviously, you can look at the Willard game where Coach McGee's kid had that epic at bat, and you could question our shift all day long. But we're trying to go fastball up away there. The pitch was more middle, and if the fastball's up away, we get a flare to the left fielder. If it's down away, we get the ground ball to our 5-6 shift. The ball just floated a little bit middle. That happens, right? We understand that, but we're going to play percentages, and we're going to win or lose the Webster way. And that's what I told the boys at the end of the game. I said, hey, we lost the Webster way, and I'm fine with it. It's what got us here. And they were fine with it too. I mean, they got it. They understand.
Yeah, that was an epic ball game. It was fun to watch. Coach McGee, he coaches a lot like you do, and
yeah, it was fun.
right? And
it was fun. Yeah.
It's a similar process. I've talked enough with Coach McGee and what they do in their program and how they do that. When you guys matched up, I was like, man, this is two guys looking in the mirror, and who's going to win out?
Yeah, we knew they'd have video on us. We knew they'd have a lot of info on us. I thought they did a really good job of choking our hitters at their outfielders. They didn't let anything get in front of them either. If you watch certain guys in our lineup, like we asked them to hit balls hard in front of outfielders. We want line drives in front of outfielders, and a couple of our guys who definitely would have had hits in that game if the defense was playing differently. They just didn't let it happen. Credit to them for doing a good job of scouting us. But between the two young men that pitched for them, the sophomore and the senior, they were both brilliant. And then Drew Patrick just coming out and having a heck of a game. Pitching lights out. He'd only thrown about 17, 18 innings. He was our catcher the first half of the season. For him to come out and do what he did and just compete hard against a good lineup that can hurt you so many different ways and hold them down. Super proud of that young man. And I know Maryville watched that game and they're excited for what they have in him. Wanted to win that game. For about 2 weeks after, there were a lot of text messages and phone calls between my staff and I about what could we have done here? What could we have done there? Should we have killed that first run in the first inning? Should we, a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda. But at the end of the day, just the hunger to get back, the hunger to do what it takes to get back there, to work hard in the off season, to the juniors that are going to be seniors, right? If you had a good junior season, how can you have a better senior season? If you had an okay junior season, how can you have a good senior season? And those guys, they're up there all the time now. They're up there all the time getting their work done. That's the beauty of having a turf facility. They go up there, they hit off the tee, they throw to each other, they get the machine out. They're texting us back and forth. Hey, what about this? What can we do here? That's the really cool part about making that run is now everybody, not just the players, everybody sees this can be done. We can achieve this. and you get more and more buy-in from the community. I've had so many kids in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade ranks, reach out about, what club teams can I jump on? How can I start playing AAA major competition earlier and earlier? How can we get ready for varsity baseball as soon as we can? And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take these middle schoolers playing better competition, up until the high school level. It's going to take our freshmen and sophomores challenging themselves in the summertime. It's going to take a commitment to the weight room and the strength aspect and the nutrition aspect, S2. It's going to take all of that because we know we can get back. We know we have what it takes. We play good defense. We pitch well. It doesn't take a ton of offense to win games. And there's things we can do better on offense that we didn't do this year. So it's attainable.
Now to move into this part of it, because I think this is, and we got some time left here.
Yeah.
What you're talking about with this, now it's that transition. When you start talking to these younger kids and you say, program, I know, and I think we talked about this a little bit, and I know what Coach McGee does. That Willard program down there, they got that youth program that they're working hard, and he does a great job with it. Nixa does the same thing. Webster Groves, where they're at, and a lot of the schools around here, they don't have necessarily maybe that luxury. So you are looking at club teams, and they're asking which this, that. That has still got to be a thought process. You don't know all those coaches. You don't know where they're at, what they're doing, what are we teaching, because you still see kids, even I see it all the time. I see AAA teams at the 13, 14U level not executing a double cut, basic things that are there. How does that come into it, and where do you, that's got to be a tough transition. And what are you working with the kids in those respects, coming from all these different places?
Yeah, we've started to do a middle school afternoon / night up at the field for any Webster kids that have interest in baseball. I have a couple coaches from my staff that are running that. It's free of charge. We're not charging them anything. We're not trying to make money off this. We're trying to buy into and sow into our community and try to get these boys playing baseball the Webster way as soon as possible. And, maybe that carries over to their club team. Maybe it doesn't, but at least they're learning from an earlier age. Hey, when you step on the field, your freshman year here, you're already going to understand some of these things that we're going to be talking to you about. You're going to understand why we're shifting the way we are, how we're setting up cuts and relays. I mean, it was really cool having those seniors and having some juniors that were in the program since they were freshmen. This year, we went over cuts and relays maybe once. We didn't have to go over them very much. We knew where we were supposed to be. We knew to throw at trail runners. We knew, how to line up for double cuts and, our first and thirds. Like we go over that the first week of practice, and we really never have to touch on it again unless we see something that needs work. Like the early runoff, the first and third early runoff. We worked on that a little bit. There's different ways to do it, and we had some guys struggle with certain ways. But just getting the boys familiar with how we're going to want them to play the game is something that we have to do. And that's why we started this summer with these middle school guys and, getting them on the field, right? Getting them at the complex, getting them in front of our coaches, getting them to start understanding the lingo we use. That's something that those smaller towns like Willard and Nixa, they have over St. Louis, is they're really able to lock down their kids and really help coach their kids up into the high school program. Whereas our schools in St. Louis, I got kids on 10 different club teams, and yeah, some are coached well, some aren't. This is how it is. Some play really good competition, some don't. My message is you can learn how to play the game better from us in these middle school nights and the different camps we do. I want you playing the best level of competition you can possibly play as early as possible. And that's the message that we're trying to send to, the third graders on up is we want you guys challenging yourselves. We want you playing at a level at which you feel you could be successful. For some kids that's single A, for some kids that's double A, for some kids that's triple A major. But we don't want you being satisfied at the level you're at. We want you growing and we want you progressing. And we want you, if you're a double A guy at 9, we would like for you to be playing triple A major by 11, by 12. And that's just something that's never really happened in our district. I think we've had a lot of people content with playing double A winning baseball, single A winning baseball up to 14U, and then they get into the high school and it's almost like a culture shock of, oh wow, this is different. It takes them 3 years to get to varsity because the learning curve is so big. And whereas those other kids who played high level ball growing up, they've seen a 78-mile-an-hour fastball from 54 feet. They've seen a breaking ball. So when they get to the JV level and they see a JV guy who's 80, 82, that's not anything they haven't seen yet. When they get to varsity level and they see a guy that's 87, it doesn't look like it's 96 because they've only seen 60, So it's little things like that where the earlier they can challenge themselves, the earlier they can be in a setting where they have to almost rise to the top to stay afloat. I believe the earlier they can get on the field as a varsity baseball player. And that's ultimately what we need look at our team. We didn't have a single sophomore on varsity this year. Carney did. Willard did. Zumi South did. It's one of those deals where we are doing this with juniors and seniors. And I want to be able to do this with some sophomores up. I want to be able to do this with some freshmen up. But they have to be prepared and they have to be ready to be up. I don't want to bring them up and sit them on the bench,
That's fair.
Yeah. And it's funny. We look at it. It's like, man, almost every school we play had a couple sophomores up. We had a couple sophomores up on occasion just to see how they would compete and how they do. But we had a strong senior junior class and we just didn't really see the need to move guys up who we didn't think were quite ready. And the way you're going to be ready as a young guy, as a freshman, sophomore, is by playing the best competition you can 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. That's the only way, in my opinion, that you're going to be ready for that.
Yeah, you've seen a couple of those guys. You have a couple of those kids that you've coached in the summertime that have done
my whole
that.
team.
It's a couple guys that I've
wild.
seen, Brendan Pyle and Nolan System, it's just like.
It's wild having a team where literally 1 through 11 can hurt you. Like, I hate batting 11 guys. I don't even mind batting 11 guys with this team. Like, I'm looking at it up and down the lineups. Like, well, 11 can hit a double in the gap, and so can 1. So that's where summer is just so different from high school, right? It's almost like roll the balls out. Let these guys show what they can do. Let these guys put on a show for college coaches. Let these guys play hard. For me, my message to those guys, because I know their aspirations in college, right? Mm-hmm. Their aspirations to play at the highest level possible, is to just demand excellence from them and demand 100% hustle, demand toughness, demand hard work, demand accountability. Because I know when they get on campus at a college, they're not going to give them any slack. There's going to be an intensity about that program that these boys aren't necessarily prepared for. And it's tough.
That's something. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Coach.
Oh, you're fine.
We're getting ready to do this tournament this weekend. 17 teams, double A. It's a double A tournament, and
sure.
And we're talking about triple A major. It's another step. But to me, I think there's very few of those players at that level because and it's interesting that when you say this, because in high school, this is where you've probably had much of your team fill out is kids that have played at the double A level and moving in, and how do you do this and how do you get here?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I see the thing that I look for in these double A teams, how well do you compete? Are guys doing the right things? I don't know how many times I can't count on both hands how many times I've seen pitchers cutting off a throw at home, coming home and the first baseman and third baseman are standing looking, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? I don't say it, but I know I see this.
You think
so?
Yeah.
How? And I think this is a thing that To me, you have to get into the clubs with these coaches. Everybody goes, oh, we can't play daddy ball. Stop it. You're a dad. You're going to have sons playing. You'll coach. Everybody's a dad coach at some point. It's just a
100%.
matter of getting these gentlemen to understand how to coach the game. Quit worrying about the wins and losses in this situation and make sure the
Yes.
kids are fundamentally prepared when they go to a Webster Groves, when they go to a Kirkwood, when they go to a Lafayette, when they go to a Francis Howell, they can execute the game when it matters, because then it's state championships, as you said.
Right.
Then it matters, right?
Oh, it matters 100%. And that's, I mean, shoot, if you're looking for a program or a team, you want to hear from that coach or that program when you're 11, 12, 13, 14. We're trying to develop you into the best high school baseball player we possibly can.
Right.
And so much of that is just understanding the game and being able to play at a level at which you know your cuts and relays. You know when you're supposed to back up a base as a pitcher. As a corner guy on scoring cuts, you're the cut. As a middle guy on non-scoring cuts, you're the cut. Those things just come automatic if you go over them enough. And I think of my 16U guys, they learned that from the time, whether it was with me or another coach, they learned that from the time they were 12 years old playing at the level they played. They learned when to be the cut man, when not to be the cut man. They learned, as an outfielder, when to throw to a trail base versus a lead base. And that's a tribute to the coaches that had those guys. But at the same time, in order to play winning baseball, whether it's single A, double A, triple A, major, you have to be able to execute those things. And if you can't execute those things, you're going to get beat by teams who aren't as talented as you who can. And that's the bottom line. And that's what I preach, is the level of ball that we play at the high school level and the level of ball that my guys play in the summer. We run into teams that are better and more talented than us all the time. That's just how it is. Mm-hmm. We've got to play better baseball. We have to. And that's that. I think sometimes in the summer that's not even thought about. It's more about, let me get mine, let me hit my double, let me throw my 19 fastballs in a row so I can light up the radar gun. It's like, that's not how baseball's played. You have hitters who will literally say to pitchers, call them names because they won't throw them fastballs. It's like, buddy, I'm not trying to help you out by throwing you a cookie. Like, I'm trying to get you out. I'll throw you 15 curveballs in a row if I don't think you can hit it.
Here, to your point, Coach, here, we're doing a GAC game of the week. I hear a very good baseball player. He's a top kid around here, okay? They won't throw me a fastball. They won't throw. I'm like, I looked at him and I said, dude, I would not throw you a fastball. So what are you going to do now? I mean, right. Nobody in their right mind is going to throw you a fastball. I just wouldn't. And that's just the key. So now now the game is on, and you as a player have to learn how to make those adjustments. This is the game. This is the game. And I don't know. See, and this is where in club baseball, are we making sure these kids understand these things? Because as you said, you're seeing more velocity in summer because guys are showing out. I get it, but right. Does it prepare you? So now what are we doing? How is those things working? Where do those things come in? And I think there are so many moving parts, and people say, oh, you don't like this. Look, people, I think you can find good and bad in everything. It's just a matter of understanding what are we working to accomplish. And right. I don't like to use the word try, because when somebody comes up and they say, man, I'm trying, that is the lament of the failed. What are you working 100%. At? If you're working at something, that means you're working to get better and your mind is in the right place, and there's a whole difference. We watched this past weekend at Game 7 baseball, 8U machine pitch. We watched a 3-2 baseball game at the 8U level.
Awesome. Wow.
These kids knew where to go with the baseball. They understood the game. They were at 8U. It was fantastic. One of the best baseball games I've seen all year. 8U.
Wow.
You know
8-2,
what
3-2.
8U's like.
Oh no, yeah, I can't imagine. Scored 5 runs in the first inning, all game. My goodness.
It was like that across the board through that whole thing. There was some team from Tennessee that came, the Wolfpack. They won it. They won it on a walk off in I think 9-8 over a Gators team in the championship. It's just it was really good, and that's the point of it, isn't it, Dave? You can teach this at those levels.
Yeah, and the worst thing, in my opinion, you can do as a coach is not teach a kid something because you don't think they're ready for it. And I hear that a lot. You know, I want to run. I like running certain back picks, you know, that most teams in the summer aren't even thinking about. And I'll talk to other coaches about it. They're like, oh, no, we're not ready for that yet. Like, how do you know? How do you know you're not ready for that yet? Like, you're not ready until you put that thought in the kid's mind of, hey, this is what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to work to execute it. And if you work on it enough and you do it at practice and you try it in games and you fail, so what, right? At the end of the day, a loss in the summer doesn't mean anything. Like, in the grand scheme of things, a loss in the summer, especially at these youth levels, means absolutely nothing. And what's even more fun is now that these kids are 16 and 17, like I talked to Missouri a couple nights ago, and I was talking about one of my kids, and he's like, I'm all in on your kid, man. I love him. He's great. I'm like, well, that's really cool because he just had a horrible game. And he goes, and he legitimately says, he goes, yeah, I don't care about that. He's like, I'd almost rather see them fail so I can see how they bounce back from it. It's like these guys that are here to watch these kids play, if they're there to watch you, they know you can play. They know you have the skill set and the ability to play at their school. They want to see how you respond to adversity. They want to see if you hustle. They want to see what kind of teammate you are. They want to know the type of kid they're recruiting because you join their family. You've got to be a part of their everyday life.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to get my boys to understand is you may be talented enough to play at these schools, but are you the type of person that this coach is going to want to bring in? Are you a good teammate? Are you going to run out a ball that you mishit, right? Are you going to go in between innings and show proper footwork, good hands, and throw rifles across the diamond after you just struck out? Like that's what these guys want to see. And that's what getting these boys to understand, like you're playing at this high level, there's a lot of pressure on you. You don't have to be successful every time you go out there to impress someone. And that's sometimes really hard for them to understand. And when you're playing at this level, you're going to struggle. You're going to look really bad. And you're going to start thinking, man, I'm not as good as I think I am. And you've got to have that confidence, that quiet confidence in your head that, no, I am as good as I think I am. I know I'm a dude. I know I'm a dog. I've got to show that this is not getting to me, that this is not bothering me. Because if the wrong person sees me show that I'm bothered by failure, they might write me off their list. I might have been a home run for them. They might write me off their list if they see me not respond to adversity well enough. And for a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid, it's so hard for them to figure that out. So that's what I'm really trying to do with my guys, is I don't have to coach their ability. I don't have to coach their talent. I have to coach their mindset and their mental fortitude to literally be stone cold killers out there and not let anything get to them. That's really hard to do for these kids.
Dave, I'll be in touch. I want to get you back on and talk some more about this particular subject. I love this part of it because I think the summer part I wanted to catch up with you about your high school team. We're out of time for today.
No,
but,
you're fine. You're fine.
We'll definitely.
Hey, just so everybody knows, Webster Groves High School in 2024 took second place in state. That is the highest finish in our school history, and that's a really cool thing. It's an awesome accomplishment for those boys.
Congratulations, sir. As a heck of a job. Enjoyed it, and look forward. We'll definitely be, we'll definitely get you on for a preview show when we get towards the winter in January. We always do our coaches previews. We'll definitely preview the Webster Groves team. Heck, you can come on anytime. I'll just shoot you. You're welcome anytime.
I'm down. I'm down to come on, man. Especially if it's remote like this. I got time. So you just let me know.
Will do, buddy. Will do. Dave, you have a great rest of your day, man. I appreciate your time as always, sir.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you.
Folks, if you like this conversation, please hit the subscribe button. We appreciate that. Hit the dinger next to it, because that's what we do. We hit dingers. But this dinger gets you notifications. It doesn't get you a run scored, but it gets you notifications for upcoming episodes such as this, where you can learn some stuff. And we appreciate you supporting Youth Baseball Midwest. Everybody have a happy 4th. Enjoy the day. Just don't blow up your hands. All that kind of stuff. Keep your hands intact. Be safe and all that sort of stuff. Happy 4th to you there, Dave. Enjoy the fireworks and all that stuff. Barbecues, apple pie, hot dogs, all that stuff. Baseball. There you go. Where are you guys going? Are you guys headed out this weekend?
Yeah, we leave on Friday for Atlanta for the WWBA. So that's always a big one.
Absolutely.
We drew Wow Factor National at East Cobb on Sunday night. So the boys are really excited for that one. They're excited.
Yeah. We'll be watching. Good luck to you, buddy. Everybody, thanks. We'll see y'all next time. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and hitters, hit them where they ain't. Have a great day in the Lord.